welcome back. This is Nina Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. I'm so glad you're here. As you guys know, I go around the planet seeking for the people there that will come on here to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. And so today I found Ryan Lindner here, and he is a personal development specialist, a behavioral coach. And after two sudden, unexplained cardiac arrests, which we are going to touch on there, Ryan, at a young age, he began to explore different perspectives. If you aren't living, you're dying. And I love that because you definitely have that point of view, don't you? I mean, it's not just a saying. You've actually been through some stuff. Ryan, how are you? Welcome to my show.
Oh, fantastic. I'm doing fantastic, Nina. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here after two, cardiac
Yeah.
arrests. So before we go there, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Tell me a little bit about who Ryan is.
Yeah. So I've always been into wellness and nutrition, fitness, really taking care of myself. I became really intrigued with behavior and really helping people through change. And that's
Mhm.
essentially what I do. Any kind of a change. It could be a career change. It could be, daily habits. Really any type of change. And I've worked with the military,
Mm,
thousands of sessions for different contracts. I've also done big kind of group coaching for organizations too.
okay.
So I've done all kinds of coaching and uh, really helping people through any kind of change. So
Okay. Is it do you do it mostly is it like career changes or is it like behavioral changes or what do you focus on or do you do both?
I would say both. What you find a lot if someone's working through one change, there are other things that are for example, if they're struggling changing their personal habits, it could be that, they're also trying to change careers. They're
Mhm.
trying to get organized. Um, and I've had such a diverse group of clients. I mean, I've had psychologists as clients. I've had military generals. Just people that, prior to being a coach, I wouldn't have imagined working with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty cool, especially the psychologist part. That must have been
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
interesting,
It
right?
was. It was.
But it goes back to what I always say is that everybody needs somebody. Every coach needs a coach.
Yep.
I have friends who are therapists. I always say every therapist needs a therapist. Like we all need somebody, right? So
Right.
that's really cool. I wanted to maybe go back a little bit if we can, because I
Yeah.
know you've been into like fitness and nutrition and everything, but according to your bio, you had two cardiac arrests, but you were
Yes.
young,
Yeah.
right? So can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah, it was an interesting, to say the least, situation. I actually got what I would call my dream role. So, I had been a coach for many years, but I started working with some big contracts, and I think I'd been there like 2 weeks or something. And one day I was feeling fine. I worked, I exercised, I felt fine, and I just suddenly just dropped
Wow.
unexplained, and it shook, as it would anyone. It really shook me, but I think I had it really caused me to take a look at my life and
Mm,
um, how I'd been living, and I would say I did everything right. There's no family history.
right.
I ate well. I was a vegetarian for years, and I just you hear stories of athletes sometimes just dropping suddenly during like an August football practice or something.
Yeah.
It was totally unexplained,
Wow.
and the following day I had another one. But
Wow.
so no family history. I being in wellness, I ate well, I took care of myself, and ever since I've seen all kinds of specialists all over the world. No real explanation.
Mm.
I was 30 when I had the cardiac arrest,
Oh, you're young.
and yep, and again, I've been seeing world-renowned specialists, and no real explanation of the cause.
Hmm.
And ever since then, I've been basically dizzy 24/7. And what
Wow.
I found was that it's such an interesting story because, as I said, when I started that job and I had my cardiac arrest like 2 weeks into having that job.
Right.
So I had no paid time off. I think
Right.
I had a really my benefits hadn't kicked in yet.
I was just about to ask. I bet not even the
Yeah.
benefits kicked in.
So I was
Wow.
thinking, so strange to start this, what I would call dream role, working for these wonderful contracts, helping people through change. And it really changes the dynamic of coaching when
Mm,
I remember going back to work against doctor's orders. I was connected to all these wires, heart monitor and so forth. And I simply couldn't afford to take the time off to recover. So after 5 days, I was back at work and taking clients. And it changed the entire dynamic of coaching. It really did. I would be listening to clients in an entirely different way because a lot of my clients are virtual, so or telephonic, so it was just over the phone, so they couldn't see
okay.
me. They couldn't
Okay.
see me, and I would be connected to all these wires and in sessions
Oh,
and
wow.
just teetering on consciousness. And as you can imagine, listening to problems seemed so different after going through something
I
like
was
that.
gonna ask that. I bet. You were just like, "Stop whining."
I mean, exactly. It changed the entire dynamic. And I specialize in busyness, right? So that is what I have sort of helped, organizations through, helping people become more efficient, helping them get organized, helping them, kind of get unstuck and get out of this busyness that they're in. But again, sitting there connected to all these wires and listening about everyday problems, it really transformed the dynamic of those sessions. And
Yeah, but it did.
um, yeah, over the years, I've noticed two things really about sessions, and that it's number one, most people cannot see themselves. So that's where, I've worked with psychologists and all, and like what you said, we're all just people. We're all, human beings, and we all need someone, right?
Mhm.
And I think going through that, I really started to notice different things about clients. First of all, again, we can't see ourselves. We all need somebody. And one thing that really affected me, everyone thinks they're this role. Everyone thinks that's who they are. And I'll give
Right.
you an example. I've worked with a lot of soldiers. And after a soldier retires, I help them through their retirement. They have a lot of difficulty transitioning back into the civilian world. And that's because they have lived as this role that they think defines them. That's who they
Right.
are.
Right.
And after my cardiac arrest, that really it really transformed the way I view that we're not roles, we're just people.
Right.
And often it takes a trauma like that to pull people into the moment to see that. If you ask somebody who they are, they give you their resume. And I have seen that for years as a coach. You ask
Mhm.
somebody to tell them about themselves, they give you their resume. And they don't realize that stuff is just about them. It's not who they are. Um, and again, when you go through a trauma, you have no problems if you're in the ICU, right? In your ICU, you have no problems. You're not thinking about you got to mow the grass, the
Right.
kids' soccer practice. You're not thinking about that stuff. You are for the first time, possibly, you see things clearly, and that is really the key factor in the transformation that I had is when and I've seen this in clients, when you experience a trauma like that, that really does pull you into the moment of reflection. Someone gets in a car accident, they go, whoa, whoa, that was close. Let me look at my life for real. Um, when they're on their deathbeds, they look at their life in hindsight. And so,
Yeah.
that's really what I've seen over the years is those two patterns. We can't see ourselves and that, everybody thinks they're this role and they don't really see it clearly until something big happens. And that was the case with me. That was the case with
Right.
me.
Wow, that's powerful because I think that's something that we all strive for, Ryan, right? Is to really know who we are and to see life in a different perspective. And I think we can get there for the most part. But I think what you're what you're experiencing, what you experienced is a very powerful life shifting experience that you cannot understand until you've gone through it. Right? It's like you said, like, "Oh, I almost got into a car accident. Well, let me look at my life." But it's totally different than what you went through, which is sitting in that ICU bed. And I believe you pointed that out. And that's the thing. Like, I think, for the, I go back a little bit to my story when my ex put the gun to my head and he pulled the trigger, right? And so when I think about that moment, I'm like, every time I'm afraid of something, Ryan, I'm not afraid of something. Do you see what I'm you know
Yes.
what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I remember that being a severe, debilitating fear of having that gun put to my head. But what I realize is you not liking me, I'm not afraid of. You know what I'm saying? Like, you having an opinion, not afraid of that. I don't care, and it's because I've
Mm.
gotten over that fear of what people are going to say, think, or do, right? Because what I went through was actual fear. This is more like a irrational fear, right? So I can imagine, like, I'm just trying to like picture like how you're thinking, like when you're going through these sessions, because you're thinking, yeah, 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 that's not really a problem. Like, you probably see this from a completely, like, lit up way. It's almost like, it's kinda, like, weird to say this, but it was almost like a blessing in disguise because you're a coach, and so the way you can utilize that is very unique and different than what most of us can utilize it as. Does that make sense?
It does. You made me think of what we're really doing is you learn to prioritize your energy and what
Yeah.
is worth the energy. Because
Mhm.
when I talk about energy, I'm really talking about what's worth your time, right?
Right.
And just as you were saying, like what you see what's real, you see it with more clarity, and I have to prioritize my energy.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I'm dizzy basically 24/7, and when I'm fatigued, it gets way, way worse.
Yeah.
So in order for me to be a functional human, I have to have boundaries. I have to only worry about things that I need to worry about. I
Right.
have to, because if I don't, then like I'm so dizzy and it's almost debilitating.
Right.
And that's what we all do. And we all, with our behaviors, with our actions, with everything that we do, we are saying, yes, this is worth the cost in energy. This is worth the
Mm.
cost in time.
Mm.
This is
Mm.
worth it. But when you pull in, when a trauma pulls you into a moment and you go, well, I'm immortal, and I things become clear in terms of what's worth that energy, right?
Right. Right. Now, what kind of clients do you actually like to work with now? Like, do you have like a specific individual or type, or what do they call it? An avatar? Is there something like you really specifically see that your work is impacting in this area?
I really enjoy helping people who, again, I think just that busyness, and
Mhm.
everyone is probably going, "Oh, that's me. I'm super busy, and I've got maybe a long work day. I'm driving kids around to practices, and um, I'm just overwhelmed with it." And I
Mhm.
think what intrigues is people think that their busyness is unique to them, as if it will. They're sort of a victim of the to-do list. And once they get through this task, the end of the week, that this event or whatever, things will get better for them.
Right.
And what I've found, and I've done a lot of studies and been a part of a lot of studies with busyness, is most people can't see that their busyness is a result of just a million little micro decisions they make about what's important, what's worth their time and energy. It's a lot of our decisions are subconscious like that, so we don't
Right. That's
constantly.
good.
I mean, if I look at my life and how busy it is, it's that busy because I have made a series of choices along the way that brought me to that point. And if you want to get out of your busyness, you've got to look at it differently as well and make a series of choices that's going to get you out of that busyness. So to answer your
Right.
question, I think it's people that feel stuck, that maybe they've got some kids, they're a parent, they're juggling being a parent with a full-time job, and they're just sort of, they don't know where to go from there.
Right. Right.
And working with that person really intrigues me because I think, everyone can relate to that in some way or another.
Right.
Um, and I also think, you look at the self-help industry in general, and there are so many resources out there that, and some are good, some aren't, but some are really good. You've got self-help resources that help you, get organized, save time, be more productive. And again, some of the tips are good. But the problem is that, again, we can't see ourselves. And
Right.
all the clients I've had, a lot of them, take the psychologists, for example, they always say, I've read all the books. I know what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
I'm just still like stuck in this, like, and again, we're treating symptoms mostly.
Yeah.
We treat, you work with a hoarder and you help them get organized, that's fine. But what about the way of thinking? What about their way of thinking got them there?
Right.
And that's what I enjoy talking about. And that's what I enjoy addressing.
That's good. That's deep work. That's good. Yeah, and I know that because you've worked with so many clients, something I always like to say on my show is that to make sure that people don't have a false expectation. In other words, when they call you to work with you, Ryan, what I don't want is for people to think it's one and done. This is a process, right? Because you're talking about deep work. You're talking about changing behaviors. Now, these are behaviors that they have had probably all their lives, right? And then they expect you to cure them in 1.2 sessions, right? So but the work you're talking about sounds really interesting. Now, do you do this in like in like increments of like a few weeks or months, or how do you structure all of that for your particular coaching
It's always been sort of tailored to the
to the person?
client. Yeah, it's
Okay.
always tailored to the person and what they need. I don't do as much one-on-one work anymore.
Okay.
I do a lot more in groups and sort of just
Oh, okay.
I do a few individual sessions, but um, again, having to prioritize that time
Yeah.
and energy and my own busyness. But yeah, I think people, they don't realize, again, not seeing themselves. It just sort of, when I start to work with people, I've noticed they often give you reasons, why something won't work, right? So you're right.
Right.
It really does take some time. You've spent years forming these habits. It really does take some time going, okay, what is realistic here? What will actually work for me? So my role now is to kind of facilitate that exploration in
Mhm.
themselves
Mhm.
so that they can get real change and not just, a little bit better organized, more productive. What people want is relief a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it's going to take them getting out of their comfort zone. It often takes courage. Sometimes it takes really big life choices that, again, are scary at times.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I did want to ask you, the what was on your bio, which is if you aren't living, you're dying. And I want to know, I know that that is a personal and very deep thing for you. But I'd like you to tell me what you mean when you say living. What does living really mean, Ryan? Because, all of us always have like a story that we want to use about what living is, but you've actually been through something that made you have this perspective. And so I'd like to know from you, what is, if you aren't living, you're dying. What does that mean to you?
I think people use a lot of those phrases as, some are cliche or whatnot. For me, it's not about completing bucket list items.
Right.
I think when you have an event like I had and it was so sudden and unexpected, and I knew it was going to happen about 5 seconds prior. I could see my vision changing and it was getting dark. I mean, I didn't know I would have a cardiac arrest, but I did know
Right.
I was going to pass out. And the terror, I mean, it just absolutely terrifying. But what I've realized is that life can be lived in the moments. It's not about I don't have to
Love
go
that.
skydiving, and it's more of a way of being in your life. And for me, it is really about um, again making decisions that reflect what is important to me. And to me, I'm living, I'm like watching the bird feeder, and to me, I have a blast just doing that. It's not about, while I do like traveling, it's not about, again, completing bucket list
I
items
love
and
that.
you only live once and all that. It's really just about being present in the moment and
Mhm,
saying,
mhm.
is what I'm doing every day, moment to moment, really reflecting what is important to me? Because time always seems to go slow in the moment.
Yeah.
We're always waiting, wishing our lives away for the closest weekend, right? But when you go through a trauma like that, time gets real and you realize, wow, I'm a young guy, unexpected things happen, and living to me, and everyone might define it slightly differently, but to me, it is being present in the moment. And it's about the small stuff, the small joys.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Wow. That's powerful. That's so powerful because, yeah, wow, what a wonderful perspective. I'm just thinking, like, so many times I've had conversations about that, and you're right. Most people will refer to the bucket list. But I love that moment to moment feeling. I love that you use watching the bird feeder too. Like, that's a beautiful vision. Like, that just gave me such a vision of peace, and something that you're truly stopping to enjoy. Like, I love aquariums, like fish, and we have
Oh,
a
yeah.
huge 130-gallon fish tank, and I will sit there for hours and just watch the fish like swim. And it's just like, people are like, "Really?" Yes, I enjoy that. Is true joy when I watch that. So I love that you shared that perspective. I love this conversation. I love
Me too.
who you are as a person. So thank you so much, because that means that you took the time to be on Straight Talk, because you intentionally took the time to be. You know how special that means? Ah, that's so good. I love that.
Anytime.
Thank you, Ryan.
My
That was
pleasure.
amazing. So before I let you go, I want to have my people know if if they can be part of that group coaching. I'm not sure if it's a closed group or if it's something that you offer to other people, or how does that work?
Yeah, I'm pretty open. Again,
Okay.
it's all tailored to the client, but my website, rslindner.com, is a good
Okay.
resource. I have access to my other social media there as well. And I think my book is a good resource that's coming out in
Oh,
April.
good. Oh, what
That's a
is
good
it?
resource. It's The Half Known Life, and it's really about, again, we can't see ourselves, and it's really about exploring what that means. Like, what do your decisions say about you? Who are you really? Not a role, not a role.
Right.
And and it's really designed to be that exploration of yourself.
Wow, that sounds powerful. So do you want to come back on in April and talk about that?
I would love to. Anytime,
I'd love
anytime.
to have I'd love to have you on. I'd love to hear more, but really, I'd love to hear you more about
Yeah.
that. So if you really wanna come back on, and, we could either do it as a live or a recording like this, but, it'd be great. I mean, that just sounds like a beautiful resource for people to kind of really open up their perspective and how they see things. So I would love to have you back on. So that would be great, Ryan, if you could do that. Awesome.
Anytime. I would love to.
Yes.
Thanks, Neena.
Awesome. Thank you. And guys, thank you so much for spending this time with me and Ryan. I will make sure to link all of his information below in the show notes. And hopefully I can steal him back over here for you guys when his book comes out. I want to thank you guys for always being here, always liking, subscribing, sharing, and growing our community. I am truly grateful for all the time that you spend with me. This is Neena Perez. This is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next time.
This broadcast is brought to you by Wincheck Studios. We are an all-in-one educational platform for podcasters that revolutionizes how hosts leverage content to increase engagement with listeners, downloads, and income. We come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how you can interact directly with our hosts, access exclusive live content with offers you can't get anywhere else from our official partners, join our purpose-driven community by visiting www.winject.com. If you're ready to build a career doing what you love, then we're ready to see you there.